Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of our podcast series, Release Notes, The Expert Perspective. Hi, I'm Sujit Pathak. I'm a senior product manager at Amoeboids. Amoeboids is an Atlassian Platinum Marketplace partner. In this podcast series, we dive into the world of release notes and speak with experts behind them. Today, we have another expert with us. We have Mr. Amit Kapoor. He's a technical communication specialist at Keysight Technologies, and he has a long career in the world of technical writing, technical communication, and has worked with across many leading companies over the years. So, hi Amit. First of all, thank you so much for joining us today, and a very warm welcome to you on the show.
Hey, Sujit, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm here to answer any questions you might have. And let's get started with this. Thank you.
Great, great. So we dive into the actual topic of the day, that is release notes, I just wanted to ask few questions about your professional journey so far. So, first question, like what got you into the technical writing or technical communication fields?
Okay, that's a tough one. Usually get this question when I used to be, looking for jobs, but okay, the answer is still the same. So I was not looking for coming into this field, but what happened is did my BTech, and after that I was a lecturer for 2 years, and then I joined a call center in Gurgaon. And
Okay.
then suddenly I was looking for a job change, and suddenly an opportunity came for joining as a technical writer in a new startup here in Gurgaon. I said, okay, while I'm exploring, why not give it a try? Because they needed somebody with my background, and I said, okay, don't know much about it, so let's go and get started with it. Joined there, and that was it. So then one after another, then I moved to Agilent, which was my first company where I did the pure technical writing job, and then another, and then another, and here I am. So I'm still into that profession, though my career today is not literally purely technical writing. It revolves around it with technical writing at
Right.
the center. So I'm doing lots of things, but yes, technical writing remains at the center of what I do all the time. It has been a lovely experience so far.
Great. And so, over the years, like you have spent so many years now and have worked across organizations in this particular field. So, what are some of the notable changes that you have seen in the technical writing space over the years?
Uh, the technology is changing definitely, as it is true with everything else. So the tools, the technologies, the trends, and how things are going from moving more from where people are authoring in their own silos. Now they're more into collaborative mode. People are working with each other more with the R&D and everybody else, and more companies are moving from waterfall to agile, which is actually powering up the collaborative model even further.
Right.
And that's definitely one which is actually opening up space for everybody to grow and learn. And then simple notepad to now beta powered authoring softwares, and then there is Confluence, and FrameMaker has gone it's a total upside down what they have done. I mean, they've changed so much. They're so powerful with all the Adobe tools, and AEM now, which is again another platform altogether for authoring. So I think it's the growth is good, and is going in the right direction, though as if there could be anything else. But what definitely still needs to happen, which I think is still missing, is that the documentation or the technical writing is still not given that much importance as it should have received long ago. But it's better, definitely. So the technical writing team across different organizations used to be, not, it's kind of more of a support function that's there. And because the output is documentation, goes along with the product. So it's okay, it kind of happens. It's supposed to be there. But the importance was not there. But now it's getting better day by day. People are getting more aware of where technical writing and the documentation stands. Why is it important? Especially when the products are so complex. For example, in Keysight, where I work, The products are so complex that you need to be able to understand how they work, and you need to have access to the documentation written pretty well, and then only they make sense to you. So
Right.
those things are changing. So people are getting it. Not everything can be like, Apple, Apple products where documentation is not required.
Correct.
But I wish everything is like that, and that'll be amazing. But that's not the case. So technical writing world and the job and the career, everything is getting better. And though I think the situation is going to change a little now with AI coming in
Right.
picture, but I think it's overall everything is going to be falling in place. It's going to be good for all of us, with a little hurdles here and there, but it looks nice. Looks nice now. Yeah.
Great. So that's pretty much that you sum up allows almost a decade of technical writing space. So, moving on to our topic of the discussion, that is release notes. So,
Mhm.
release notes is something is that it's a document for any software product we maintain and release after every release. We actually it actually helps us to communicate what are the changes that we are doing to the product after every release, what are the new features we are releasing, what are the bug fixes that we are shipping in this particular release. So
Mhm.
is it only limited to this or it's beyond that? So what is a release notes document according to you?
I think release notes document is a document that a customer should be able to look at and decide if they want to update or upgrade their product that they're currently using, or even if they are buying it for the first time, they want to look at the release notes because they sum up how features are being developed, what is being fixed, and all that. It's definitely a mandatory document for anybody who's already a customer, because they then decide based only on the release notes if they want to upgrade, update, or even totally ignore an update or a release altogether, and they're just fine with the product that they have because it brings a lot of changes to the product, their setup, and they might have to make some adjustment to their current setup to be able to use the new update or upgrade, or even to incorporate new bug fixes or patches. So release notes is important because uh, they identify all the work that has been done since the previous release.
Hmm.
Until you know that, you don't know what you're getting into. So I think it's an essential document as a customer because we are a product development company, but at the same time we are users also of different products.
Right.
Whenever I am buying a product, whenever I'm purchasing a product, small or big, or I'm upgrading my laptop with different tools, different versions, I need to look at the release notes and see how they're going to be working. For example, the plugin that you guys develop, automated release notes, I am actually always looking for new releases because I need to see what is being done, what are
Hmm.
the new changes coming, and what are the bugs being fixed. And I get to get the latest development and bring them on board, and empower my teams here, my R&D, to be able to use those features. So it's important. Release notes is important because that's the only way for the customer to know what's changed and if it's worth for them to upgrade or update their current setup or environment with that product or service.
Great. So, Amit, you mentioned about uh, collaborative efforts, like in your earlier response. And you also mentioned that products are getting complex. It's not easy, for a normal user to understand all aspects of a product. So when we are drafting a release notes document for a particular release, it's definitely not going to be a one person's job. It has to be collaborative. So every stakeholder who is involved in the release management process should be contributing towards the final draft version of the release notes document. So how does it work for you? Who are the people or actors who initiate the process of drafting release notes, and who are the other actors that are involved in this?
Okay, in our case, and I think that should be kind of a thing that should happen in every organization or every team where they're following agile. Everybody's a participant. Nobody's left out. So
Right.
maybe it's a QA, maybe it's R&D, maybe it's the product owner, Scrum Master, the learning, as in the technical writing team. Even at times, maybe the sales or marketing guy, if they want, they should all be able to contribute. Though it's a responsibility of, in our case, the responsibility of the product owner for a squad or a product to be able to provide the details of the changes that are going as in for the release notes. But the responsibility lies with everyone. The owner is definitely one, the person who's accountable, but we welcome everyone and we give them opportunity to contribute. So in our case, the initiation happens it's always there. There is no trigger point that happens that, okay, now you can start adding release notes, especially again, coming to your plugin. We've integrated into Jira, the field is already there. We call it release notes content. And the moment an issue is created, the field is visible. So even if the release is in which your issue is going to go after 2 years or 3 years, you can still write the release notes right now. You don't have to wait for anybody to kind of, that I'll do it later. No, you can write it, you can refine it or modify it or remove it later based on how things evolve. But the option is there, and it's not limited to a specific user or a user type. Anybody can come in, which is what works in our case. Our R&D, QA, product owners, and Scrum Masters, and including us, the technical writing team, we all are there to actually ensure that the release notes are there from the moment they are, they can be added, and then they are added throughout the life cycle of that issue until the release is out. Maybe it's a patch, a service pack, a minor release, major release, doesn't matter. And it keeps changing, evolving until that final day. And so that becomes our, single source of truth for an issue, a release. And that is how it works for us. So in our case, everybody contributes, nobody's left out. The responsibility lies with the product owner. And the final check that happens at two places. One is QA, and another is our technical writing team, who ensures that everything is perfect as ready for the customer, and then it's shipped out to the customer.
Okay. So as a technical writing team member, when you look at the final version of the document before it's actually released to the end user, what are the things that you look for? What is that checklist that is there in your mind that you check for?
Okay, so definitely the first is, okay, the technical writing team. The obvious is the language, the grammar, the spelling, and all the obvious parts. They are the first ones. Then again, another part is we ensure that everything is adhering to the company's branding. All the branding things are taken care of. They are aligned with the company language. Then then next is we look for any sensitive information that it should not be going to the customer. They don't want to know all the sensitive details. Sometimes they want to know, but we can't reveal them. Sometimes we can't reveal them. And so all those kind of things, we check for all those kind of things. And then again, we definitely ensure, which is a crux of what technical writing team is supposed to do, is ensure that release notes are making sense to a normal user. They're not too detailed, as in too technical, that the person has to understand what, say, kind of figuring out what does it mean. No questions for them. And then we link it to the respective sections in the documentation. So, so if you're reading a bullet point in the release notes or a section, you can quickly jump to the corresponding section in the documentation and read more details, see what we are talking about, explore the feature, and learn more about it. So these are a couple of the things. And other than that, the entire process that we've established is very much automated now. So earlier we had to do a lot of things. We had to do so much, do this and that and so many checklists. But now the process is so much automated. Even if, as I tell in my organization, even if the technical writing team goes on a vacation for a month's time, nobody would feel the difference because it's automated. Everything is automated, except the final part except the final check that has to happen. Everything is in place. So it happens beautifully, very smoothly, and works nicely for all of us. So that's what I would say, unless you were asking for something else. But these are pretty simple checks that happen because that is what they are, all that we need. And definitely what we ensure is the output is not in Jira, definitely, because either it goes in PDF or it goes on we use Confluence, Atlassian Confluence. It goes out on a Confluence page. So we do not edit anything on the Confluence page. We come back to the Jira issue and we edit them, make the changes there. And then they are again auto-published to the Confluence page. Only when everything is final, only on the last 2 or 3 days, we stop the automated publishing, and then we do the final last bit edits on the Confluence page. But whatever change we make in the content has to go back in the Jira again. That we ensure. Only changes that we end up doing on the conferences, maybe a little bit of formatting, maybe the final touches. That's all. But the content is again always in its true shape in Jira. So those are the only things, and that is all we need to do. So works fine for us.
Great, great. So one thing, I mean, obviously that it's a comprehensive answer to the question, but one thing that really touched for me like was you mentioned about it should be concise and easily understandable even to the non-technical reader, right? Even if we are talking about the technical products and the technical features of the product. And second thing that's very important according to me, even I have learned this over the period after actually practicing these things, is that many times people do confuse release notes as a help document and they try to explain everything in the release note itself. That's not true. It should be a summary of what we are doing with this release, and it should direct user to a particular documentation where they can read it in detail about a particular feature if they want to see in more details. So that's really an important point to remember whenever anyone is doing this for the first time or in the initial days. So, when we work in Jira or any project management tool, if you are managing your software releases too, sometimes it could be overwhelming to scan through all those tickets, right, and see what all information that should go into the release notes and what all information that should not go into the release notes. Because there could be some technical tasks which are related to the backend part of the product, which are not necessarily to be informed to the end user. So what is the process like? Who is the one who decides like these are the things that we should put into the release note document and these are the things that should not be going into the document?
The first person, definitely, as I said, was the ownership is with the PO. So anybody could be writing the content and adding content for release notes in the issue, and that will get published. But the final ownership lies with the PO. So in our case, the PO checks before they are actually given in a sprint or in a release that only the issues that he is agreeing to send in the release notes are the only ones that are going. So the only thing that he has to do is just toggle a flag. So we have a flag called add in release notes where he has to just say no, and the issue release notes content won't go anymore now into the release notes. Otherwise, it was going, as long as it was yes. So that's one check. So he's the final authority because he knows what was promised to the customer, what needs to be communicated to the customer, and what should go. Once he is done, then it's up to QA. The second check is with QA because QA knows what, because they are the ones, again, they have received bugs from the customer, they're verifying them. So if something is there which is not supposed to be revealed, they'll let the PO know, okay, you think that the issue is done, but the bug is still not fixed. Or maybe there is some information that the feature is still under development, or maybe a part of it is done, but it's not fully developed. So those communication gaps need to be filled, and QA takes care of that. And lastly, it's us because we've done the documentation, we've gone through the feature, we know how it's working. So we do the final check on that, as in, once the major part is done, we again go at ours, do this on our side and see that, every issue that is there is actually properly documented. If the issue is not documented, how the customer is going to be understanding it? Unless the feature or the bug is self-explanatory and it doesn't need an documentation, probably just a checkbox or maybe an option change or wording change or anything of that sort. So these are the three layers of checks that happen. They are not happening in any order. Definitely PO is the first one, but then once PO has added, or anybody in the R&D has added the release notes content, then the order does not matter, because then it's just an agile fashion. Everybody's doing their job and checking that everything is, kind of smooth at all the time. And so these are the three levels. I hope that answers your question.
Definitely. Before I move to my next question, just another small question. You touched upon a term called company language. So you mentioned that the release notes documents should adhere to the company language. So what is this company languages and why it is so important?
Oh, it's actually okay. So usually every organization has a style guide. Okay, so Microsoft has Microsoft style guide, Apple has Apple style guide, other organizations have their own style guide. In our case, we have Keysight style guide, writing style guide. So we want to be able to follow to that style guide when it comes to the terms, the terminology, and how the name of the Keysight, the branding, and the colors and everything. Everything that the company wants to communicate to the customer, it should be consistent with that. So we should not be speaking or writing in a language which does not follow the branding or the image of the Keysight as Keysight wants to project it outside. Because it's consistent, then only it works. So that's what the branding is all about. So we ensure that everything as per our style guide, the terms, the terminology, how the procedure is supposed to be written, how the documentation is supposed to go, the formatting of the release notes, the style, the words, the terminology, everything is there. So we have a proper style guide in our organization. I believe every organization has it. So we just ensure that the language, the terminology adheres to that. We're not breaking any. So that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Okay. So my next question, Amit, is like, these days we often see there are some new age companies, some startups, they are doing some innovations even in this release communication through release notes and other stuff. So we see is generally some organizations are doing release note document in a very humorous way, so just to in a sarcastic way, just to create some buzz and interest around people who are reading it. So what's your take on that? Like, how do you decide like what should be the tone of your communication in this release note document?
Okay, that's interesting. I was experimenting. And I chat GPT and I was experimenting, I think 2 days ago. I
Yeah.
asked ChatGPT to tell me some unique ways of creating release notes, and
Yeah.
totally unique. Nothing that the way it is already done. And ChatGPT suggested create a comic strip. And I said, okay, that's funny. It could do that. And I said, okay, please create a script. This is the content that the release that we are working on for a product. I said, okay, this is the content. Create a comic strip for me. It said that I can't create a comic strip as in literally, but I can give you the dialogues, so how it's supposed to be.
Correct. Yeah.
Created one. I read it. Okay, it sounded funny for a moment, but then I thought it's not hitting to the mark that I wanted to. No, it could be because our product is so complex and the dialogues and everything is so like that. It may not work. But if it's a product where it could be funny and still communicate, I think it's okay. So there is no rigid or hard and fast rule as to what should be done, what should not be done. As long as what you're communicating, the customer gets it and they're able to use your product as you intended, and that's job done. That's job done.
Okay.
You tell it through a video, you tell it through a release note document, a notepad document, maybe just bullet points, maybe images, maybe GIF animations. Everybody's doing it, everything, right? So I saw, I usually see Chrome's, whenever they release Chrome browsers update, and it's a proper, a video where they share all the details as to what our features have changed, what are the new features, what bug fixes that they've done. It's pretty interesting. It's very nice, very engaging. Then at the same time, there are organizations which are just doing detailed textual ones.
Yes.
Then if you look at Microsoft Marketplace and then you're looking at their plugins and add-ons, and then they themselves, they do lots of GIF animations, explaining it to the customer right there up front. So reading is good, but GIF animations are good. We've also started doing that. So we add lots of graphics, and we are trying to add lots of graphics and animations, which are, so as long as your customer gets it, and they're able to use the product as you intend them to or as they want to, the job done. Use any way that works. So no rule, I suppose. As long as it works, everything is fine.
Correct. So it's at the end of the day, it's about whom you are interacting with and what kind of a product you are in, right? So if it is a very complex and a rigid product, you might not be able to communicate all the aspects in a certain tone, but you have to match.
Yeah. You should. I would add. So it could be that the product is so complex, so you want to make it funny, so don't overload your customer with so many details. So maybe just a funny bit, but you can think, okay, we are so highly complex product and manufacturing company. We should be very serious. So let's just write, because our users are so technical and so much like scientists. Like, it could be that, but it's more of to experiment with maybe a small sample user group and see if it's working for them, what they say. And if it clicks with them, if you think it's working, please go ahead and give it a try, maybe to a huge, bigger set of users. But I think it's worth trying. So I'm thinking of trying a comic strip. It's going to be very difficult, definitely. And maybe not for a product which is, one of our products is very complex. Maybe not for that one, but maybe another thing that we are doing internally in the organization. So we could probably start with something internally in the organization, because there is no damage that's going to happen. It's not to the external customer. But if it works out well inside, maybe outside we could give it a try. Maybe not for major release, maybe for a sprint deliverable, PSI. Could be that. So it's worth a try, I suppose. Yeah.
Great. So, you're doing release notes after every release. So suppose you have monthly release, after every month you are doing this activity, all are contributing to this. But then what's really happening? Is it really bearing any fruits? How do you measure this thing? Whether your users are really reading it, whether they are actually getting it, what you intend to tell them?
So we do release notes every sprint, which is 3 weeks for us.
Mhm.
And then we do for every minor release, which happens like every 2 months, I suppose. Then there's a major release, which happens every 6 months or so, based on the product and the size of the product. So we have 10 plus products, so we are doing for all of them. And so you can imagine lots of release notes happening, lots of releases. The customers are definitely releasing it because the way we know is that's the only way, as I said, that's the only way for them to know what has changed. So they install. So we see the number of downloads, the number of installs that are happening. And then if we do make a mistake in the release notes, it comes back to us because they'll read it and they'll say release note says this, and this is not working. So it's like that. They're reading it. That's how it's working. And if by chance, we see that, I've not seen a case actually. I won't say a by chance. I've not seen a case where we've done the release notes and nobody's reading it, because the first thing is we are doing PSI, for the sprints. So they are going every 3 weeks, and the customers are reading it, because we don't send it out to every customer. We send it to only a subset of customers who are interested in trying the beta versions or the sprint delivery. Then the major release goes, which is actually very much awaited, because the releases are based on the feedback from the customer, the bugs that they've encountered. So it's going out, and release notes is the only way for R&D. And okay, though it's the only way for customer to know what has changed, it is the only way for R&D to tell the customer what they've done, right?
Right.
How are you going to tell the customer that what is the value of this release? What have you introduced, the new features? They're not going to be scanning the documentation. The documentation, in our case, the documentation is 20,000 pages for a product. What you going to do? You're going to scan all? There's no way. And you can't see that what are the pages that have changed. For example, in conferences is possible. The only way for them to know is this. So they are reading it definitely in our case. Okay, the count varies from a release to release, from a sprint to sprint, because as I said, not everybody's interested. Not everybody has time to upgrade every time we do a release, but most of them do, because they need it, because the release is meant for them. There are new features, there are bug fixes that they want to address. So most of them would go ahead and they would read the release notes, definitely.
So if I have to summarize, like based on the customer feedbacks and the queries that are coming back after the release, you can gauge like whether they are actually reading it and getting it from the document that you have released.
Yeah, and we have, so we ship two types of products, documentation. One is that goes along with the product, which we cannot track, but then there is one that is available online on our Atlassian Conference instance. Google Analytics already plugged in, Microsoft Clarity is already plugged in. So we see the analytics. We see that the release notes page is being accessed by so many users the moment the release was done and up to this much time. So those analytics kind of tell us very loudly and clear that our customers are accessing it. And so that kind of takes care of any doubt that we might have. Yeah.
Correct. So you mentioned about Google Analytics, another tool to just track the usage. I know, for the fact, because you have been using our app as well, automated release notes for Jira, to automate certain aspects of release note generation and distribution. So how important it is for, according to you, to use the tools like these, to automate the process?
The release notes process is well taken care of only by your plugin. Actually, we don't use anything else. Jira, Confluence, and your plugin. The plugin is very powerful. It has done everything for us. We don't need to do anything. So the only thing that's left now is when the documentation is available online, there should be some way for the writing team or for the organization to see how engaging the content or the deliverables are. And either you have hooks in your product to indicate that, to track that information, or you depend on your online presence. In our case, it's Atlassian conference. We host our documentation there. Our customers are accessing it there. So Google Analytics and Microsoft Clarity kind of gives us the bigger picture of how the content is being accessed, what are the top pages being accessed, and all those things. They're not essential, definitely. They do help because you can see, analytics are there now. You can see which geographies, the devices being used, which pages are working, the search terms, lots of things which are provided by Google Analytics. I won't go into the depth of what analytics are coming from Google because that they are known, they're available on web. But yes, analytics do help. They help you see what your customers are using, how they're using it, and what works and what doesn't work. So you can enhance the quality of your documentation. Otherwise, you could be just living in probably an imaginary picture that you've created, that my documentation is being used by probably everyone or maybe some of them, and it's not factual because you don't have a data supporting that. Now, Google Analytics and other tools, they are there to only help you validate what your data or your beliefs. So it's helpful, definitely. I would recommend that everybody should have some way of gauging how the documentation is working out for their customers. This way or that way doesn't matter. The way, as long as it is working for you, as I was saying for the other thing, as long as it works for you and it helps your customer access your documentation, use your documentation well, it's just fine. So use any tool, but Google Analytics is free. Microsoft Clarity, which is a new product, it's again free. They're very powerful, both of them. Different capabilities, but they do help a lot.
Great. So what is your take on the new age tools like the generational AI, the chat GPT like tools, which helps you to generate content? So it's not just about curating or just doing the normal stuff like grammar corrections and spell correction, but it's actually a generational AI. So it actually generates text for you based on your prompt. So what's your take on this? How it can be helpful in case of generation of release notes or generation of help documentation?
Yeah, so I've been using it for a long time now, and I like it so far. I won't say it's perfect, but it's evolving. So the perfection is increasing. The accuracy is increasing. And Bing, I've tried Bing also, so even better, even better. Different from ChatGPT. I've tried other tools also. I'm exploring other options also because I want to see how how they're going to be helping us. How they can help us. Though at the same time, we want to see that how we can save our jobs. That's definitely a criteria. But at the same time, how these tools are going to be changing the this whole dimension of technical writing. So it seems like it's good. So far it's good, but irrespective of the tool that you're using, you're going to be having to validate it. You'll have to read what the tool or ChatGPT or Bing has generated for you. The way even if it's coming from R&D and PO, we need to ensure that the content is ready for the customer because they've written it from their perspective. Any AI has written it from its own perspective. Only you, from the customer side, can understand and proofread it, that if it's ready for the customer, if it's apt for the customer. Only you know the content. So that's definitely one when it comes to generating content. But when it comes to technical product documentation, the problem here is the AI can only generate based on what it knows. If you've developed a new feature, it doesn't know about it. So it can only try to say it, So for example, if I have a product called A and there's another company which has a similar product, not altogether, B. Now B has a similar feature which I just introduced. So the AI can try to tell me or generate documentation based on B's implementation of the feature, but it's not accurate, right? It is only an approximate. So there you can't use it. So you have to set the context. The context has to be set properly to get the right outcome from the AI tools. But definitely they are very helpful. They're changing how things are happening. The boundary lines and what they can do, what they can't do well, and how they're going to be used. They're pretty blurry right now. But I think in a year or two, things gonna change in the right direction. We'll be more confident in how to use them. I see that you guys have actually added a beta feature in your release notes plugin where you could generate the AI generated text, where you can use the AI generated text in the release notes. I've not tried it. We just got the update done, and so I'm going to be trying it in a day or two time. But yes, it's going to be helpful because reading the entire description of an issue, which is like 2 or 3 pages wide, and reading the entire comment history, it's a task. Even the PO could say, okay, let the plugin generate uh, the release notes for me, for example, just the release notes. I don't know, probably you guys are just using one field right now, but if there's an option, maybe read the comment history, read the description, and generate the release notes based on that. Then the PO verifies it and kind of fine tunes it. So his job is, kind of reduced to an extent. He still has to do it, but now instead of spending 20 minutes, probably he'll have to just spend maybe a minute or two to read it and verify it. That's a time saver. So I think it's good. But again, the responsibility lies with the PO to ensure that the content is validated, is correct, and it's not missing any details. So what is coming out is good, it's right. But at the same time, it should cover everything that you need to communicate to the customer, right? So that's another advantage, another thing that they need to take care of. Because AI is not going to be sure all the time that it has covered all the aspects that you want to communicate to the customer. It knows only what it knows. It cannot be creative like the way you can. It cannot create new features for your product, maybe, because it's only generating from what it knows. Though we human beings also do that to an extent. But we can create something from thin air, kind of we can do that. So I think it's helpful. It's really gonna be supportive. The only thing is how we use it and in which direction we take it. That is what is going to decide. So we are exploring things, and we are exploring different tools and models. They're coming out nice. The only thing is which one wins and how you use it. That's the technology all the time. You've been given fire. You can make food from using the fire, or you could burn a thing down. It's up to you. So the AI is just like a technology, any other technology like computer or internet. What you do with it, in your hands. So you use it wisely, it'll help you. Otherwise, it could do other things which you don't want. So I think that's the case with AI. So with technical documentation, it's gonna be helpful. But yes, for especially writing new features or new stuff which is not there altogether at all, you still need humans for a good amount of time to come, unless AI actually, and I think that's going to happen too, where you would have AI plugged into your product. So the moment it discovers a new feature, it'll be able to trace it and write documentation for that also. Okay, that's a thing that may happen, and I think it might happen very soon, but at least not maybe 2 to 3 years down the line. It won't happen. So let's see how things evolve.
Do you feel threatened by this?
I don't think I feel threatened. I think as I've been actually talking about it with my friends, we were not threatened when humans invented wheel or fire or computer or mobile or internet. All these things made our life easier. Okay, they did change the scope of jobs. They took away some jobs, but at the same time, they created new jobs. Okay, so you needed more people now to do internet. So and to work on computers. So AI at the same time, though it's changing the way the jobs are being done and maybe making some jobs obsolete, is going to be creating new jobs also. And we will need people for them. The only thing is the people who are there doing these jobs, they'll have to transition from that skill set to this skill set. That skill set change may not be easy for all of us. It will be very difficult for few of us, but it's something that happens with every time technology changes like this. So it could have happened 5 years down the line, but it's happening now that the AI has come. So it's going to bring its own pros and cons along with it. It's up to us how we use it, and it's going to make lots of life easier. With the I see, okay, job is one thing, but if you look at the medical domain or the technology or the aeronautics or all the other things where humans want the computers to be able to do things because we cannot do that well. It's amazing, for example, for finding drugs, doing the surgeries which doctors may not be so, confident about, though they are much more, they're better than the machines at least for now. But, those things are going to be easy. So there are some places where AI is going to help a lot. There are some places where it's going to do a good job. Sometimes some places where it's going to just touch and not do much. But it's going to change. It's going to change. So the only thing that we should be ready to do is we evolve with the technology. We evolve ourselves with our skill set as the time moves on, and things should be fine. There will be some ups and downs, but they're always there. For no reason, people are losing jobs, right? The AI didn't even come, and so many layoffs happen. They happen every year. What are you going to do? It's bitter, it's harsh, and happens to the best of us. But that's how it is.
Correct. Absolutely. So, we have touched upon almost all the aspects of release notes as the main topic of the discussion today. I think I'm really glad. I'm sure all of the audience who are watching this video must have got a lot of insights from your, the way you explained, Amit. That's fantastic. Before I let you go, a last question to you. Any tips or key takeaways from your side for budding technical writers who are entering into this field just now and they aspire to make a good career in this field?
Okay, I met someone in my organization who's just joined as a technical writer. The advice is same, and I'll give that here. Technical writing domain is an interesting domain where you get an opportunity to learn so much and add a value to the document, to the product, because the customers, the R&D, though at the same, they are developing a product, and there is so much enthusiasm across the board. The sales team is selling the product. What you are doing is helping the user to be able to use that product. If it's a simple product or if it's a complex product doesn't matter. At the end of the day, most of the customers will end up reading your product documentation to be able to use the product effectively. So you have a very key role to play here. It may or may not be recognized that well, because it happens, but it's an important role. You do play a very important role, because without that, you Google, right? You Google for a thing. How do I do this? What are you reading? You're reading some information that somebody's written somewhere. Maybe it's a user manual, maybe it's a forum, maybe it's a Slack channel or anywhere. There are people who are helping. So people need information to be able to use or do things. So that's what you're doing in a way, and especially for your product. So the more complex or more technically product is, your role becomes even equally important. So crucial for that. Now, that's one thing. Another is the technical writing job does not stop where you start. So you start with technical writing, but then you end up doing so many things, and the limit is decided by you, what you're going to be doing. For example, me, I started as a technical writer, but then I started exploring other fields which were affecting the technical writing. For example, I was looking at a product and I was documenting the UI, and I was looking at it and I was saying, what is this? I mean, this UI could have been designed better, because the way I'm writing it, the user is going to say, why is it behaving like this? Because the other company or other UIs that I've seen, they don't behave like this. This is a very different, strange behavior. So I proposed it to my R&D that, this UI could be better. They made some changes. They could not do the other, and they rejected a few. That was a day where I learned about usability. That usability is something which I was talking about. And then I started exploring usability, and I started taking interest in usability. And then today I'm participating in usability meetings and usability initiatives, where I'm actually, adding value to the organization, to the products, and doing this and that in that. And then when you're doing your job, for example, technical writing again, you think that, okay, this is a monotonous work that I'm doing, I wish it could be done better. It could be automated. Again, though AI is coming in and it's going to make a lot of things easier for you. But 10 years, 20 years ago, it was not that easy to automate everything. So there's an opportunity for you to look into that dimension also. And you could do that. And if you're using a tool which allows lots of plugins or technologies to come on board or integrate this and that, then those are the places to explore. So technical writing is not purely technical writing anymore, as long as you don't want it. So as long as you think it's only technical writing, you continue doing it technical writing, and it's just fine. But if you think at any time you want to explore the horizon and expand your knowledge set and do this and that, it's a good start because it gives you that bent. It exposes you to so many things. You get to learn a lot, and then you can switch from one role to another also at any point in your career, assuming the opportunity is there and you have that interest. So, for technical writing, this is how the career can move. It can take different roads on the way. But if you, in the beginning, I would say the only rule for you should be not the only rule. I wouldn't say only rule. A few of the rules that I could mention is that your focus should be improving your writing only. Adhere to what your job is, as follow what you've been told as much as possible because it's the time to learn and spend more and more time in enhancing your skill set. Maybe it's a language, maybe it's a grammar, maybe it's learning how your product works, anything and everything. Try to be the best at it because once you get best at what you're doing, not in comparison to others, no competition. Only when you say, I have done the best I could do, in doing this, and I've been doing it for some time now, then you can start exploring other venues, looking for other ways to improve your documentation, your skill set, your career, and other things. But you have to start somewhere. So technical writing is definitely one place where there are a lot of opportunities. And I've seen people, they were in technical writing in the beginning of their career, but they moved on to a total different portfolio altogether. They're integration managers, they're general managers, they're VPs. It happens because, it exposes you to so many dimensions of the technology that you become skilled at it. But then it's again your style, how your choice, how you want to take it further. So learn from your peers, learn from the technology. Now the AI is coming, so there are lots of tools and technologies available across the technology world. Explore them, learn from them, and hence enhance your skill set. It's easier today than it was ever. Though at the same time, with becoming easy, it's become challenging too in the way that there are so many options. There's so much competition. But then you need to focus only on yourself and see again what works for you, what works for your organization. Just follow that and continue doing that. That's pretty much it.
Absolutely. Great. So it was such a wonderful discussion, Amit. Thank you so much for joining us today and sharing such a interesting experiences and insights about the world of release notes and technical writing in general.
Thank you.
So thank you so much. We really enjoyed, and I hope all our audiences must have enjoyed this video. Do follow us on YouTube, on LinkedIn for more such videos that are coming up. And see you in the next episode. Thank you so much and goodbye.
Thank you.